mainstream politicians who have jumped on this as a bandwagon for political and personal gain.
What you're really saying to them is, here is an exploding bomb. I don't know when it's going to go off, but I'm putting it in your hands. And they're going, I don't want to touch this.
Validated and confirmed what I've been saying, that these were political decisions made to protect the bloc Muslim vote.
Let's jump into this. Me and you were at a street demonstration in Manchester city centre over the weekend on Saturday with an organisation we both support called Parents Against Grooming. We both gave our little speech. I wanted to start by saying the feeling in the crowd was more positive than I've noticed before in the last 2 years. I've been going to those street demonstrations and speaking. People seem to have a little bit more about them, a little bit more positivity, a little bit more. Finally, things are being discussed about the grooming gangs. You've hit national attention now. Elon Musk is talking about it. Did you feel the same with the people who were there?
Yes, I think we have taken people on a journey, Nick, and I have nothing but love for these people and for what they've done. And I apologize. And I apologized at that meeting. You know, the first thing I did I apologize for not getting there earlier, not getting there sooner. But what people like us have done is we have looked at it objectively, strategically, and politicized it, so we know what the levers are through which we can deliver the change that these people rightly have, we should be doing for them. They have a right to. So what these people have done is they've gone on a journey with people like me. And when I first came along, Nick, I remember the first time I was speaking for Billy, I was waiting and people were asking me, very critical questions. And some of them were openly prejudiced towards me, thinking I was on some bandwagon. Now, 4 years later, 5 years later, they've realized and accepted that not only am I genuine, not only am I authentic and everything I've gone through, the strategy I have deployed is bearing fruit. This is a political struggle. This needs to be framed in a political way. And it is through this strategy that we and this entire nation will get what we want, which is accountability and justice.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had the same conversations. I was talking to a gentleman in the crowd on Saturday who said to me, Nick, I like you, but the first time I met you and saw you speak 2 years ago, I thought you were full of it. I thought, here we go again. Here's another wannabe politician who's turning up to one of our events, who's pretending to be on our side, who's saying all the right things. And if he gets into power, he'll drop us so quick. We won't even see it happening. He goes, but 2.5 years later, you're still here. You come and get every demonstration. You're still speaking about it. He went, I've changed my mind about you now. And he was half being funny, but he was being deadly serious, as in, I've been lied to that many times that I trust no one now. And I said to him, you're perfectly correct in not trusting me and not trusting anyone, because most people are full of it when it comes to this.
And to this day, I look on it and it disappoints me, Nick. But there are mainstream politicians who have jumped on this as a bandwagon for political and personal gain. And you've seen it. I've seen it. I don't need to name anyone. You've seen it. I've seen it. I've reached out to politicians who claimed they wanted to help on this issue. And I've reached out to them to say, you're in such and such a place. I have X, Y, or Z who I think you'd benefit from speaking with. Not me, but either survivors or whistleblowers in your town or in your city that I think would give you added depth to what, this issue and develop your understanding so you can more effectively advocate on behalf of this. Zero response, Nick. And I want, and these are conservative politicians in the main. And I'm sorry, zero response. And I've ended up in a place where at a grassroots level, I have nothing but respect for conservative councillors because they've helped me, Nick. They've helped promote this, they've helped challenge this. But at a national level, I still don't think they get it.
I don't think, let's be honest, they don't get it. 8 months ago, they were still in power, and they're in power for 14 years. If they've not changed, you can't change in 8 months. Um, they know that this issue will damage them slightly less than it's going to damage Labour, but it will damage the Tories. And every time you go national and you speak to a national politician saying, I've got information on this, in your area, I can send it to you. What you're really saying to them is, here is an exploding bomb. Don't know when it's going to go off, but I'm putting it in your hands. And they're going, I don't want to touch this. This could explode in my face. And cowards, I mean, I use this word quite a lot now, but the cowards. I want to ask you about a former MP, Simon Danzuk.
Danchuk, yeah.
Former Labour MP for Rochdale. He's recently come out saying, I knew about this, the cover up, I was told not to say anything. And he got a round of applause. I was screaming at the TV going, you're saying it now? 15 years later, couldn't you have said it when you had the power of being an MP? Couldn't you have sacrificed your career on the altar of being courageous and let your career go, but highlighted it all 15 years ago? Because we'd be further along the line than we are now. Is that fair, or am I being cruel?
I think I don't think you're being cruel at all. And I try and be pragmatic when I look at this. So first and foremost, I'm thankful he has spoken out, even though it's as late as he has, because from a selfish point of view, Nick, he validated and confirmed what I've been saying, that these were political decisions made to protect the bloc Muslim vote. He validated that. And this is a former Labour Party MP validating that. And he made the Telegraph. I think I saw. I saw it was in the Telegraph, and I think it was on GB News as well. So I can't reach those audiences, Nick. I've tried those platforms. Even GB News. They're not for speaking with me because I take it maybe too far for their comfort zone. I'm not saying I'm in any way rude. I don't think any of your people who view me would say I'm rude or aggressive or anything. No, I try to come across reasonable and reasoned and explain things in a thorough manner. But I'm thankful he finally said it. And of course, I'm so disappointed, Nick, because you and I both know why he said it. He said it because he'd been kicked out of the Labour Party. So now he's no longer in that group. He can now, he's got a different reason to speak out. Do I believe he's spoken out for the right reasons? That's the question, Nick. Do I believe it's not whether the timing was right, it's whether he's spoken out for the right reasons. And I would say to everyone, sadly, I believe he's spoken out for himself and to benefit himself. There's a guy in Birmingham as well. I forget his name. Is it Khalid? It was the MP down there, the big burly guy. I think he used to be a rugby player. Embroiled in scandals down there, covered up, but in the public domain. All of this is in the public domain. He got took out, I think, in the end by one of those sectarian MPs. He's forever. You'll see him on GB News now, somehow becoming an advocate of this. He's not an advocate of this. This is this political opportunism by some of these people, which takes me back to the gentleman who spoke to you at the rally on Saturday. They've seen this so often. And sadly, the vast majority of those who occupy this space come from a position of political opportunism, how it will benefit their political careers. Now, it's not for you, and it's not for me, because whilst I stood to be a politician, Nick, I don't come from a political I'm not a politician. I stood because I felt I had to stand, not because I wanted to stand or I was under any doubt of any chance of winning. I was grateful I kept my deposit, and I was grateful that the work I did and the leaflets we distributed kept the campaign going, which then brought us to January when all this blew up. Because if we hadn't kept going the way we had kept going, when it was of no value to me, Nick, it was of no value to you. We kept going because this was the right thing to do. I was stood in a space on Saturday where some of those people, politically, ideologically, want nothing to do with someone who looks like me. But that doesn't matter. I have to stand in those places and I have to do what's right. And over time, people will change. But I feel like it has changed because now the conversations is no longer if this happened. It's not even why this happened. It's the conversation now we're having in the national discourse is what are we going to do about it? And that's where the division is. The establishment want to cover it up, and the rest of us want to lift the lid off this once and for all, and whatever comes, comes. And that's why we're winning, Nick. That's why we're winning.
I know we're winning. And one of the reasons why I know we're winning is because people now are jumping on our side. They may be doing it for the wrong reasons. They may be doing it for selfish reasons. But people tend not to jump to a losing side.
And that's why I remind myself not to dwell on, well, why are you joining us? That sort of focus in my mind. I remind myself, Raja, you need to be better than this. This isn't about you. This isn't about what's gone on in the past. This is about what we need as a movement to get over the line. And we need these people with us, Nick, which is why I go back to Simon Danchuk, and I'm grateful he spoke out even though it was perhaps a couple of decades later than he should have done. Because all this goes back to the likes of Anne Cryer, because Anne Cryer did speak out, and she was demonized. What happened to that woman is a national shame.
And for people who don't know who Anne Cryer was, could you just briefly tell us who she was?
She was an MP, wasn't she? She was an MP from one of the West Yorkshire places, significant senior enough, one of the first ones to speak out. And in the end, I think she had a police protection in the end.
Yeah. Of I think it was the Blair government, Brown government.
So this is the thing. At the height of the Labour Party government, when they were in power, when there was no reason for her to speak out, she spoke out. That's for me, that's powerful. It's not a political benefit for her to speak out, but she spoke out.
Yeah, and was penalised by her own party. Was called a racist, was called a far right, all the same sort of rubbish we hear all the time. But she was an MP for the Labour Party, and they went for her because nobody will talk about this. And that's what it was a couple of decades ago. But people are swapping sides now because people naturally want to be on the winning side. And that's how I know things are changing.